All right, so welcome everyone. I'm really excited to share this information on how you can share your message using Facebook Live or Zoom during this whole coronavirus outbreak. And obviously it's going to have a lot of applications even after we get through this. And it's my feeling that this too shall pass. And so I'm just feeling inspired to share what resources and gifts I had. In one day I had Devora, who's on the line here with us, and my Zumba teacher and my yoga teacher all asked me how they could use Facebook Live. And so I thought, oh, this is great. If there's people out there who are really wanting to share whatever your gifts and talents are and share some great content with so many people stuck at home, then we can really come together and be of service in the world this way. And so really, whether you're a coach or a healer, or today I was talking to another one of my clients who does equine therapy, and we came up with a whole way she could be sharing her horses through Facebook Lives and through videos. There's Judy. Hello, hello. And so literally, if Judy can figure out how to do it with her horses in the middle of New Mexico where she's out at the corrals, then no matter what kind of modality you're sharing, you can figure it out too. And I'm going to help you do that today. It's also great. I know my brother's a school teacher. He's been using technology to reach people. I saw Chris Martin from Coldplay the other day just doing a spontaneous Facebook Live concert from his home. So there's lots and lots of applications, and it's really your creativity that helped you figure out how to use this. And so I know I'd love to take a read of the room. Just how many of you feel like you're super comfortable with technology and it's a breeze? And how many people feel like, I have a love-hate relationship, or I kind of get it? And how many people are just like, I'm totally baffled when it comes to Facebook Lives and Zoom and all this other stuff? So type in the chat box. If you didn't hear the instructions earlier, you just take your cursor over the screen and click on the little symbol. It looks like a little like cartoon, someone speaking symbol. It says chat, and give me a read. So we got pretty comfortable, some good, not so much, getting more comfortable. Darby used to be a programmer and now avoids it. Okay, Virginia started taking harp lessons online. That's so cool. Christine hasn't done a Facebook Live. Yep, I'm okay. I just need time to figure it out. Cool. Okay, so a real mixture, and it's always great to hear tips for sure. So what I'm going to be talking about today is, first of all, how do you choose like where to broadcast, whether Facebook Live or Zoom or Instagram TV or YouTube? And then I want to give you some suggestions about how you prep your content, and then what do you do to actually get set up, and then how do you actually use the technology. And this is going to be very behind the scenes, so I'm going to do my best to step-by-step show you and also kind of give you a picture of what you might not be seeing right now outside of the camera, so that will help you know how to get set up. And then we'll kind of wrap up talking about those kind of mindset issues, because I know you might have concerns about, how do I look, or how do I sound, or I just feel weird talking to myself this way. So we'll go through that. And then if we have time, or if anyone wants to hear some more advanced suggestions around how you might collect emails for this or tie it into your offerings, I'm happy to stay on and answer questions about that. Okay, so if you do have questions, this is meant to be interactive. I'm going to go as step by step as I can, but if you feel like you're missing something, please just type a note in the chat box and we will answer. I will answer it, or someone else, if you have experience, feel free to chime in. This is like group sharing. Thank you, Helen, that's very sweet. All right, so let's first start. How do you know? Facebook Live, Zoom, Instagram, TV, YouTube, how do you choose? And so I want to first talk about why I chose Zoom today. And the benefit of Zoom is that we all get to see each other's faces, right? So it's kind of fun to see, I don't know, we probably have, what, 20 or so people on here, and everyone can see each other's faces. And I can also do what's called screen sharing. So I'm going to just turn that on for 1 second. All I'm doing is on that same, when I hover my cursor over my face, the little toolbar pops up and there's a little button that says share. And when I click on share, you can now see my desktop, right? Everyone see that? And if I'm going to be teaching you how to go through something step by step, you can see I already have my Facebook page up, so we'll be able to go through that a little later on. And I'm also letting you see that I have a bunch of notes that I just use to organize myself, and I'll talk a little bit more about notes and how to use those. But that also is something you could share if you had a handout or you had something that you wanted people to see. And so Facebook Live does not have the ability to do that. You cannot share your screen. And so if that's important to you, if you want to be showing slides or you want to be showing people what's going on your desktop, then you're welcome to use Zoom. So yes, Molly, if you want to record this, awesome. I'll also be recording it and sharing it, but you're more than welcome to do that. So Zoom is great for that. Zoom, I do believe you have to pay for it. So it is a little bit of an investment. I think I have one of the starter packages and it's a couple $100s a year. And so that might prevent you from wanting to use a platform like Zoom. But as I said, if you want the audience participation, the other great thing is you can unmute people. So if I wanted to say to Judy, hey, like, how are you making it work with your horses? She could actually talk live, and you can't do that on Facebook Live. So that's great reasons for Zoom. And then in terms of using Facebook Live, okay, great. A couple people are saying you can do Zoom for free if you keep it within 45 minutes. So if you wanted to do shorter Zoom calls, then it sounds like that's a good option. If you are going to use Facebook Live or Instagram Live or YouTube Live, the benefit of that is that it's an online social media platform, which means you already have people online and they can just find you and see you as you're broadcasting. So right now, if you don't have the link to this Zoom call, you cannot get onto the call itself. And so if I was broadcasting this on Facebook Live, then anyone who happens to see a notification come up that I'm live would come and join us. And so you have kind of a built-in audience there. And obviously it's free. So that might help you kind of sort through which ones you might want to use. And in terms of picking between Facebook and Instagram TV and YouTube, it really depends where your audience is. So obviously there's millions of people of all kinds of different avatars, your ideal client on Facebook. More and more people are kind of moving over to Instagram. And obviously YouTube is one of the largest search engines in the world. So that's also kind of another nice benefit, is that you already have lots of people on there. So let me just pause for a second and see if you have any questions. And yes, when you go into your Zoom settings, you can decide whether you want everyone to come into the call and they're on mute, or whether you want people to come in unmuted. And so for me, I'm one of those people who's sensitive to noise. And if there's like a lot of background rustling or noise, it's really distracting to me. So that's why I have it in my settings that my audience comes in muted. And then if I want to, I can manually unmute each person individually. And occasionally, if I'm teaching a call that maybe has 4 or 6 people on it, I might just unmute everyone so we can freely talk. And if someone is getting noisy, they just kind of mute themselves up. Okay, so any more questions about where to broadcast? You can type it in the chat, and let's keep going and talking about prepping your content. So when you're getting ready to do a Facebook Live or a Zoom, you have to know what your purpose is. You know, someone like Chris Martin was going on mostly for entertainment value, and I'm guessing most people who are on here are thinking more that they're doing it to be educational or informative in some way, that you have a purpose for what it is that you're teaching. So you want to kind of think through, what is my purpose? Why am I doing this? And you want to remember, people have very short attention spans these days. So if you're going to do a Facebook Live to a general audience of people who don't know you as well, you might want to keep your broadcast to be maybe like 5 minutes or less. And the benefit of that is not everyone's going to see you live. It's going to end up also being a recording. And so if someone new comes and they see, oh, you know, here's 5 minutes and I can see who this Megan person is and what she has to say, they're more likely to watch it than if you do even a 15 or a 20-minute one. On the other hand, if you're broadcasting to, let's say, like I know the other day, Devora, she was broadcasting on her Marblehead Natural Healing page. And so those were people who already said they were interested in what she has to say, and she wanted to deliver some more content. So in that situation, if you're broadcasting for 15 or 20 minutes or longer, then you're kind of making the assumption that those people are already interested in what you have to say. So everyone see the difference between, if you're going to broadcast more publicly, you might want to keep it short for people to get to know you. And then once people are kind of in your tribe, in your circle, that's when you might want to share more content or deeper or longer content. And when you do go to broadcast, you want to jump right into what you're saying. So, some people will go live and they'll do a long introduction of themselves, or they'll just kind of ramble about the weather, or talking about how they're not really set up. And for the most part, you want to hook people's attention right away. So like, what's the most powerful, interesting thing you could say in the first minute or two that really orients people to what it is that you're going to be offering? You might want to ask a great qualifying question, like, are you feeling really anxious right now and you need a tip or a tool on how to calm yourself? Or are you struggling to find ways to keep exercising as you're cooped up at home? And that's just a great immediate hook for your audience. So as you're speaking on your Facebook Live, you also want to just know your own, I'll call it like teaching or delivery style. And so some people are more spontaneous, and some people like to at least have a little bit of organized thoughts, and other people like to write out exactly what they want to say. And so for myself, it helps me if I even write out like a few bullet points. I might just take a little Post-it and put 3 or 4 points, and then I take my Post-it and I literally just stick it right underneath my camera on my computer. And that way, if I do it now, you can see, you can't even tell if I'm reading this Post-it. It says how it works, lights, setup, titles, mindset, right? You can't even really tell that I'm looking at the Post-it and not at the camera. And other people, like my business partner, Sherry, she is all about having things like written out. Sometimes she'll do it more spontaneously, but she, for the most part, really likes to write it out. She likes to joke that she has menopause mind. And so she doesn't like it if she forgets her train of thought. And if that's you, that's great. You can also put notes up on the screen, and I'll show you how I'm doing that. So let me go back to screen sharing. So if you want to, and you're broadcasting on a Facebook Live, you could do the same thing where you just have your notes on the screen, whether this is in a Word document, or sometimes I'll take my little Mac notes and just output it. I'll just move it so it's right lined up under the camera. And again, if you see, if I'm reading how to accept how you look and sound and those other pesky mindset issues, you can't really tell that I have that up on the screen. And so for you, just think through, like, what's going to help you show up in the best way possible. Is it better for you to think through what you want to say a little bit and jot down some notes? So I've seen people too, I've done this myself, like in my journal, I've just scribbled out some notes and I just lay them down in front of my computer so I can look at them. And if you want to get really fancy and you're doing a screen share, but you don't want people to know that you're reading from notes, then you can also set up 2 screens. And I'll see if I can show you. So right now, obviously, I'm broadcasting on this computer, and I'm going to move it so you can see the setup. But a lot of times, when if I'm teaching more like a webinar, I would have a second computer sitting down on the desktop, and then I have this little computer stand here that raises the computer that I'm broadcasting from. You can also, in the past, I've also just used books or just any little object you have at home. And so the computer I'm broadcasting from is up higher, and you can see right here, the second computer is down lower, and I'm able to glance down at the notes on this computer, and that way, as I'm sharing my screen, you wouldn't be able to see what my notes are, okay? Yeah, Judy was just saying, I can't stand a slow, disorganized drip before the video starts. Let's see. Terry's saying, do you use a separate camera? So for me, Terry, my camera is built into my computer. So my camera is actually at the very top of my screen. If your camera is at the bottom of the screen, that would be a little inconvenient There are built-in like external cameras you can buy that you can clip to the top of your screen. So that might be an option to solve that. And you kind of have to like work with like whatever computer you have to figure out what exactly is that setup. And so another reason I use that computer stand is just when I'm working, it's bringing my computer more eye level, so I'm not like straining my neck and looking down all the time. And when you're broadcasting, you know, ideally you don't want your computer to be low and, you know, you're like people looking up at you like this. It just isn't quite as attractive or appealing. All right. Okay. Yes. So Molly, we're going to talk about laptops versus phones in a minute. I'll go through all the like technological pieces. So the last piece I would just say about prepping your content is it's also smart to think about how you might want to reuse your content when you're done. So let's say I broadcast this as a Facebook Live or even as a Zoom. I might want to put this up on YouTube, right? So that now people who are on YouTube can find the content. I might want to put it into a blog on my computer, I'm sorry, on my website, and then email out a newsletter that tells you about this content. Or I might want to take my Facebook Live and share it. I know there's some ways if you do Instagram Live or a Facebook Live that you would be able to reuse that video and share it on another platform. So I'm a big believer in being efficient, and not everyone's going to see your Facebook Live when you broadcast it. So if there's other ways for your tribe to access it, then it's just really smart on your part because you don't have to come up with quite so much content and you reach more people. Okay. So let's see. Deborah's saying, do you have notes going through Zoom or do you just have your notes on your computer? When I did the FaceTime Live, the area took up the whole space. Okay, so usually when you're doing your Facebook Live or your Zoom, you can actually kind of scrunch down the size of your screen. And so if you're hovering over Facebook or you're hovering over Zoom and you have your cursor go to like the corner of Zoom or the corner of your internet browser, you can like push the size of it so that you can rearrange it. And so usually what I do, like right now on my screen, I'm only about this much of my screen, about half of it, and then I can see my notes on the bottom half. Yeah, and same thing with Facebook Live. You can just make your Facebook part of your screen just like this big and then see your notes underneath of it. Kate is asking, is there a way to connect your Facebook Live with your Instagram Live at the same time? I don't know 100%, Kate. I have seen that if you're on Instagram, there are some settings about whether you want to like share your content over to Facebook. So I'm not sure if it will go live at the same time, but you might be able to set it up that it does bring the information over. And there's also some great tools like Post Planner that can help you manage your content and where it shows up. And so you can always like record a Facebook Live and download it and then share it again on another platform. Okay, so the last piece in terms of just kind of getting prepared is you also want to decide about your marketing. So are you going to market what you're doing in advance? Like all of you knew today at, what is it, 3 o'clock Eastern time, I was going to come on and do this. And so there's a really nice number of people here. Or are you just going to do it spontaneously? So sometimes I'll just get inspired and I'll pop on a Facebook Live and do it. And depending on how big your friend list is or your Facebook group is, might depend how many people are seeing it live. And so really that's just a question for you is, if you advertise it in advance and you do some social media posts or you send out an email saying, hey, I'm going to do a Facebook Live or a Zoom call on this topic at this time, you'll probably have more people turn out than if you only do it spontaneously. And at the same time, sometimes I just get inspired and I don't want to have to do all the advanced planning. So I just show up and do it, and whoever sees it, sees it. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so let's move on and talk about getting yourself set up. And so how do you set up your lighting, your sound, your computer? So first of all, you want to have as strong an internet connection as you can. And if you are broadcasting live, you want to shut down everything else on your computer that you don't need. So shut down your email, turn off, shut down Microsoft Word if you have that open, shut down any other tabs in your internet browser, because you want all of your computer's kind of bandwidth going towards the Facebook Live. And so a lot of times when you see kind of grainy Facebook Lives, it's either because the internet connection isn't very strong, or there's just too many other things on the computer that are chowing down your resources. And so in terms of your physical setup, you can see right now that I do have a window behind me, but for the most part, I could probably have scooched over a little more this way. For the most part, you do not want to have the light coming from behind you. And so let me show you what happens when you do that. So if I was broadcasting this way, do you see how that's really annoying and I become more silhouetted? Versus if I just turn my computer so that I have more of a wall in the background, you see how much I look like I glow instead of looking kind of dark and scary. So as much as possible, you want to not have windows behind you. I'll follow my own advice and scooch over. Not have windows behind you, and you want the light coming from in front of your face. And so if you can see, I'm set up, there's a window on one side of me and a window on the other side of me. So I have really good natural lighting in this room. But if you're broadcasting at night, or you just don't have as good lighting, turning on the overhead light helps. And then you can also just grab a light, any light. Like at nighttime, I often use this little desk lamp. I'll just set it up so it's shining towards me. Or I have this other little desk lamp. I'll put it on the other side of the computer, turn it on. And I also have something called a diva light. And we'll try a little experiment. In the daytime, I'm guessing you're not going to tell the difference, but at nighttime, you might. So here is the diva light off, and here's it on, off. Yeah, you can't really tell in the daytime, but what a diva light is, a diva ring, it looks like this. And I just taped a little piece of computer paper over it, because since I usually wear glasses on Facebook Lives, it tends to show the little ring in my glasses. Again, since it's daytime, I don't know if you'll see this, but let's see if I can. Can you see the ring right there? It's really strong at night. So I just put that paper over it as a little extra shade. But what that light does is it really just softens the features on your face, because it's lighting up your whole face. And you can buy that on Amazon for, I think, like 40 bucks or so. And so that might be another way for you to get some extra light on you. All right. Yeah, Terry's saying, I have 2 of those lights on both sides of my face. It totally works. All right, and then it's also nice to have, in my opinion, a decent background. If you're broadcasting and it's a total jumbled mess behind you, it's a little more distracting. But again, it's up to you. I've kind of situated myself in my office so I can broadcast here, and I have a nice background. If I go and sit over there at my desk, it's pretty much a white wall behind me, and it's not very interesting, so I tend not to broadcast from there. You can also, if you want to get fancy, some of you may be coming on my prayers for the planet, which I've been doing each weekday at 5 o'clock Eastern. And I do have this fancier screen. It's black on one side and white on the other. And you can see this stand here that it gets connected to. And I just have been putting it behind me. And for me, I was just kind of experimenting with doing like no background, because a lot of people don't have black behind them. It kind of stands out on the Facebook feed. You can kind of see my eyes better. So that's another option, is just be aware of your background. And then if you do want to do it outside, like we used Judy as an example, you do have to really play with how strong your internet connection is, because as soon as you walk away from your internet, the quality of the connection starts to go down. So obviously, if people can't hear you or it's really grainy, that's not the way you're going to want to appear. So you'll just want to play with that. And that kind of brings up that question of like whether to broadcast on your phone or on your computer. And so again, it kind of depends your purpose. Like for me, if I'm doing something more businessy or mindset-y, it's just really easy for me to be sitting here, sitting down. But if I want to do something more spontaneous, like a couple times I've done Facebook Lives where I'm like walking from my house to my office, then you might want to get a little selfie stick. I had an opinion about selfie sticks, but my best friend bought me one, and they just have a little clip on the end that you can attach your phone to, and then they have this little gizmo that you can turn it on. You have to sync it up when you first buy it. And then you're able to hold it and walk and talk, or if you're outside, you can hold it at an angle that just makes it a little easier to chat with people with. So you want to decide, like, is your material more interesting outside? And can you get a strong enough phone internet connection to do it, or do you want to sit down? And for those of you who are doing more physical embodiment work, like if you're doing yoga teacher or a dance instructor, you probably want to take a little time to figure out your setup first. So I know my yoga teacher, when she does hers, we figured out it would be best for her to do 2 setups. So one of them, she would set up where she could, put her laptop on like a chair, and she would be able to do floor exercises, and she has to figure out, here's how far away I need to sit for you to be able to see my whole body. And then she had to come up with a second setup that was for when she wanted to stand up. Oops. And so obviously if you want to see your whole body standing, I don't know if my headset cord is long enough. Yeah, you'd have to kind of figure out the right angle and walk much further away to be able to see me do like poses that are standing ones. And so what she figured out is that she would have, her chair set up with a yoga mat, and then a couple feet over, she would have, a higher level table or desk or something, and put her camera on that where she could stand up. And that way, during the class, she could move between setups pretty easily and be able to deliver both versions. So you might want to experiment of turning on your camera and just like practicing to see where that is. All right. Okay, so then next, she's not using both cameras at the same time. She's actually moving her computer from location to location, but the setup itself is ready to go. So she has one setup ready where she can just plop her computer down and do sitting, and then she knows when she's going to go stand, she's going to have to pick up her computer and move it, and that works just fine. Okay, and then you also can use a tripod. So if you do want to broadcast on your phone, then you could use something like this kind of camera tripod, and most of them will have a little attachment you can buy that if it's for, a traditional video camera or, regular photography camera, there's like a little attachment that you can screw on and hold your phone, so you'd be able to connect the 2 of those, and you could set that up as well. Okay, and so this goes without saying, you should have your computer plugged in when you're broadcasting. Some people forget about that, and it does take up a lot of resources. So I notice when especially if I'm doing webinars, it will drain the battery pretty quickly, and you don't want to have to go scramble and get plugged in. So that's just a good reminder. Okay, so any questions about setting yourself up? Everyone good on that? Lights, if you can have a microphone or a headset plugged into your computer or your phone, it's great. You can also get these microphones. They're called lavalier mics, and they just clip to your sweater or shirt, especially if you're outside. It has a little wind muffler, so that doesn't mean you can be out in a windy day, but it does mean it will reduce some of that wind noise. And then you do want to check and make sure, like this lavalier has a really huge plug that fits in my laptop, but it doesn't fit on my phone. So I had to buy a little attachment piece that I can click it into there, and then I can go ahead and stick it into my phone. So if you want to grab a lavalier mic, again, they're like 30, 40 bucks online. Okay, so next, let's actually do a Facebook Live together. And I am going to go ahead and share my screen again. Just take a second to rearrange everything. And I have my little cheat sheet notes here. Okay, so when you go to broadcast live, you want to decide, are you going to broadcast on your personal page? Like right here, I'm on my Megan Gilroy, the page I get to when I just come on Facebook. Or do you want to do it from within a group or your business page? And so for me, I have the most people kind of interacting with me and following me on my personal page, and so that's where I tend to broadcast from. You can do it from your business page if you have one set up, but Facebook, quite honestly, they want you to be paying money for ads. So oftentimes your business page, if you're broadcasting from it, unless you're super engaged on that and just constantly doing content and getting a ton of interactions, Facebook is not going to showcase that video because they have an algorithm that is deciding whose content gets put on whose timelines. So just because you post something doesn't mean everybody gets to see what you post. And the more active you are and the more engaging you are, the more Facebook sees that you're helping their business, you're keeping people's attention on Facebook, and the more they'll share your content. And so for me, I most often broadcast on my personal page. You can also broadcast from a group. So if you set up a group that's a special group dedicated to your business, like in our Wanderlust Entrepreneur world, we have our Creating Transformational Destination Retreats group, and we often broadcast from within that group. But just know if you do that, people cannot share your content outside of the group. So if you broadcast in a group, people cannot share it outside of the group. If you broadcast it on a personal page or on a business page, then people can share it. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm just going to go ahead and broadcast from my personal page. And so you can see here, I'm going to just click on live video. And as soon as I do that, it's going to be a little slow since I'm also on Zoom at the same time. You can see it comes up ready for me to broadcast. And so over here on the right side, this is where you're going to get everything set up and ready to go. And so first of all, it asks you, where do you want to broadcast from? Do you want to do it on your timeline? Or do you want to share it in a group? And if you do, it will bring up a list of groups. So if I did want to pick one of my groups, here's a list of possible groups. I could broadcast it in there. Or you might want to share in an event if you create an event, or on a page you manage. So you can decide where to broadcast it from. And so I'm just going to say on my timeline. And then in the next section, this is going to be your description. So you do want to at least have a title, if not have a description about what it is that you are broadcasting. So I'm just going to use the title of this, and you can see, because I wrote up, my little advertising bit around this, you can just reuse that in lots of different places. So here's my title. I cut and paste it down here under title. And then I'm also going to give you a little information about it. So let's just put this in here. So you might want to write a little description and a title. It kind of came through in a weird format, so you could go back and fix that if you want to take the time to do that. But now I'm all set up. I've essentially said, hey, this is what I'm broadcasting, and I could write a little description about that. If you do want to tag anyone on your post, you can. So if you wanted to tell, really get people's attention about that Facebook Live, you can see right here, it says tag people. So let's just say, I see Terry's on the broadcast. If I start typing in names, she's going to come up. And here's some other people I see on the broadcast who are Facebook friends. I can tag them if I want. And then if you want to add in emojis, you can. It's kind of, I guess if you wanted to check in and say you were broadcasting from, I don't know, Stop and Shop, or if you're out and about somewhere, you could do that. And I guess there's a way to support a nonprofit, which I've never done. And then you do want to just check which camera you're using. So if you do have more than one camera set up, like if you have a camera on your computer and then an external camera, you'd want to make sure you have the right camera selected, and then also the right headset. So for me, you can see this is my headset that I'm on, but I could also choose to use my camera or my computer's internal microphone. So it's good to just double check your settings. And then we are going to go ahead and go live. So let me just go ahead and click the go live button. Okay, so since I'm on Zoom, it's not gonna let me go live at the same time. So what happens next is you're gonna see the screen kind of fade out to black, and it's gonna count down for you. It's gonna go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And this is where it gets a little awkward because there's usually a lag time between when Facebook Live says you're live and when it's actually picking you up and broadcasting. So what I find is that I sit there for another 2 or 3 seconds, which feels super awkward, and you just smile and sit there. And I'm always shocked if I go back and listen to my Facebook Live. Even then, if I start talking after those 2 or 3 seconds, oftentimes the first sentence or so gets cut off. So it's up to you. As long as you can bear the discomfort, I would give a nice little pause there, take a deep breath, smile, and then start talking. All right. And then when you are done, let me think how I could do this since it's not going to let me go live right now. So I'll describe what happens. So when you're done with your Facebook Live, there's a little button that also says end streaming or stop your live share, and you're going to click on that to end it. It's going to ask you a second time, do you really want to stop this live stream? And so also know that there's a time where it takes you to press the button once and then press the button twice. So again, you want to kind of have that pause. Maybe you're still smiling. If you are doing a live stream with somebody else, you don't want them to start talking or go, oh my God, that was awful, or whatever their opinion is. You want to just again, just pause at the end, shut down your live stream, and then it takes a little bit of time for your live stream usually to show up for you to see it in your timeline. And so one little trick you can do, I'm gonna get out of this, is that when you are done with your live stream, if you go up into your notifications and you had anybody comment on it, a lot of times you'll see a notification for that. And if you just click on that notification, it will bring you over to your live stream post. So even though you might not see it in your feed for a good 5 minutes, maybe longer, if you want that shortcut to kind of go find it, just go up to your notifications, see if someone commented on it or if it says someone's watching you. And if you click on that, it will take you to that post. And the reason I like to do that is because if people have been commenting as I've been talking, I like to be able to respond to them. And so once the live stream's over, I'll go back and I'll type in my answers to their comments. And that way I can have that engagement, because the more you engage on your Facebook Live, again, the more Facebook is going to promote that. So let me again pause for a second, because in showing my screen, I have not been able to see who is commenting. So let me get back to there. Okay, so let's see what we've had. Molly, how about you ask me that question right at the end, since that's pretty specific. Okay, so Terry's saying, I've been broadcasting from my private Facebook group, but I'm wondering if I should make the group public instead of private. Can they share from a public group? So I'm pretty sure, Terry, that even if anytime you're in a group, you can't share Facebook Lives, but you might want to check that for sure. So it's really up to you what your purpose is. Like if you're wanting only to broadcast to your audience and you're kind of setting it up that this is like a special exclusive opportunity to interact with you, then you want to keep it in your group. But if you're wanting more to build your list and have anybody be able to find you, then obviously you'd want to broadcast it outside of the group. Yeah. Okay, so let me take a peek and make sure in my notes I covered, I know the other piece of this. So let me get my screen on. So the other thing that often happens when you are doing your Facebook Lives is that you get a really awful thumbnail. And so the thumbnail is this little shot here. So when your video isn't running, it's the little picture that they're showing. And sometimes you get a picture where you're just making a really weird expression on your face, and that's not the one that you want. And so the way you fix that is when you're all done, let me move this around so I can get to it. Does everyone see where it says more right here? If you click on that more drop down and go down to videos, when you click on this, you're going to bring up all of your videos. And I don't know how Facebook decides this, but they decide some videos are of you and some are your videos. And for me, most of my Facebook Live shows up in your videos. And so if you hover over any one of your Facebook Lives, you'll see that little pencil come up, which means edit. And so you could, when you click on that, you have the option to edit this video. And if you did a Facebook Live and you really hate it, you could also delete the video, which is always good to know. Like if you just were like, oh, I started and I completely messed up, then you can always just delete it. And so when you go to edit the video, you have this choice of picking the thumbnails. And so you can see here, I'm just clicking on the little arrow to the right of it. And you can pick whichever thumbnail you like best. You get 10 choices. And if you need to edit any of your descriptions or titles, or if you want to do any kind of like closed captioning and any of the kind of fancier features, you can also do that. And then you can save it and that will get you a different thumbnail. Okay. Now, the weird thing to me is that you would think you would just be able to download your video. Oops. Stop that. You would think that when I showed you to go edit your video, it would just let you download your video from there. I have never had success in doing it that way. And so the way I get to download a video is when you actually click on the Facebook Live itself. So if you found it in your timeline and you come over here where these three little dots are, everyone's seeing this in the upper right corner here, and you go to download your video, it will bring up another version of it. It's going to be cooperative. I may not be liking it since I'm running Zoom and Facebook at the same time. So what normally happens is when you click on that, it will bring up another screen that has a picture of your Facebook Live, and within that, you have to again find those three dots and click download your video, and that's what lets you download your video. So I don't know why you have to do it twice and why you can't just do it from your videos, but that's what I found is the easiest way to do it is go to the actual Facebook Live itself, do download video, and then another screen will pop up, and for me the screen's always black, and then you tell it again to download the video, and then it will be on your computer, and from there if you wanted to upload it into YouTube or upload it somewhere else, you'd be able to do that. Okay, so let's stop the share and check in on comments. Everyone's been able to see the screen so far, yeah? I see Christine saying she's having a problem with that, so I just want to make sure. I'm not sure why that's happening on your end. Okay, and so the last thing I just want to say is sometimes when you are doing a Facebook Live, especially if you don't have a great internet connection, it's going to like get all fuzzy, staticky, or it's just going to freeze. And so if that happens, don't freak out. Usually in a minute or so, it fixes itself. And if it doesn't fix itself, you kind of have two options. Like sometimes on your viewer's side, they're saying, hey, you lost sound or you lost audio, and it's an issue on their end. And so you have to kind of gauge, is this just like one or two people are having an internet connection on their end, in which case you can tell them to refresh their page. And if everyone's just saying, I can't hear you or see you, then you might want to go ahead and stop your broadcast and start a new one. But that does mean that all those people who are on that broadcast now can't find you. So you're going to want to type in the comment box, I'm having technical issues. I'm going to end this broadcast and I'm going to start broadcasting again. So just refresh your page and that should enable you to see the broadcast. Okay. All right. So let's just check in and see. Everyone's still breathing. I know it's a lot of information. I will share a replay if you want to come back and listen to it. So just give me a little check in, give me a thumbs up, giving me, this is a lot. Awesome. Okay, great information. I totally like honesty. Thank you, Gloria Jean. That's very sweet. Yeah, replays always help. So just take in as much as you can right now, and you can always go back and watch each of the steps. Yep, chat boxes will sometimes go missing, and then you can find it again. Good. Some people, it's all new stuff for you. Okay, so let's talk about the mindset part. And I know how many of you, when you go on camera, you start really thinking about how you look or how you sound. So if anyone's being willing to be vulnerable and brave and say, yes, that's me, I see some hands waving. Yeah, that's totally normal. And so I have a few pieces of advice around this. So I don't know when this happened. It must have been like at least 10 years ago, maybe 7 years ago. I just got this download that I was supposed to start practicing being on video. And I listened to that intuition. I had no idea why Facebook Lives were not happening then. It wasn't that popular to do webinars. And I set up my little phone camera in my office. Actually, I don't even know if my phone had a video then. I think I actually used an actual video recorder. And I started filming myself. And when I did, I would cringe because I was saying and like a lot, and I was slumped over, and it was just a mess. But what I learned from that by watching myself back was how to do better on camera. And obviously, since then, I was actually invited to be on a TV show a couple months later, and I was so thankful that I had taken the time to practice on my little camera at home. And since then, I spend a big majority of my time teaching online. And so I just want to encourage you to be gentle with yourself. Like no one, I won't say no one, it's very rare to find someone who is just totally natural on camera. Most people who are on camera and come across well on camera have been practicing doing this, whether you're watching actors or newscasters or online coaches. And so when you go back and you watch early versions of me on video, I do not sound as together as I do now. And I know particularly when I started doing webinars or Zoom calls where, you know, right now I'm looking at myself on camera, I have my notes up, I'm seeing what all of you are reacting to, I'm watching the chat box, my brain would glitch. And it was like all I could do just to like focus on what I was saying. And so I think it does help if when you get started, just lower your expectations of yourself. Like the first time you do it, maybe you're just delivering a message and you can't deal with the chat box. Or maybe you're delivering your message and you have to kind of ignore everyone else's faces. And that's okay. The practice is what's going to enable you to get better. And so what helped me was knowing that you can delete anything that is a practice. So you can actually do Facebook Onlines and go back and delete it like I showed you. You can just use your phone camera and practice doing a little video and see how it looks and sounds. And obviously the more you do it, the better you get. The other piece that really helped me is because I personally am on my own spiritual path, and I believe that whatever I'm doing is helping me grow and evolve, is that I just recognize that that's my ego mind talking to me, right? Having a judgment about how it thinks I look or how it thinks I sound. And so I just use my tools of being able to say, thank you so much. I hear you. We're going to go ahead and do this anyways. And I look at whatever issues that might bring up in me, and I keep reminding myself that for me, my purpose here on this planet is to be a messenger and to be a light bearer and to help other people amplify their light. And so if I am coming here as a messenger, then does it really matter if my hair's a mess today, or yesterday I was really feeling the shifts in energies and I just showed up. It was like no shower, no makeup, I just showed up. And so when I come back to what is my true intent and purpose, it may not be perfect. And I know so many of us are perfectionists and we want to sound great, but ultimately I feel like people respond to being authentic. And so even if things are a little messy, like that's real life. And so you can decide, how perfect your background has to be or what your brand is. Some people have a much more polished brand and other people come across more, grubby, sitting in the bed, barely showered. But I just find that the more I've been willing to open up to being vulnerable and authentic, the more my people love me and respect me. And so I just keep lowering my expectations and sharing my message. And so the other piece around that is when I first got started, because I can be that dreamer and that visionary. I was all ready for Oprah to book me on her television show and have millions of people listening to my message. And of course, the way that that happens is by you showing up and by you affecting one person at a time. And that one person tells another person, or they share your video, or your email list grows. And so particularly when you're starting, I think it's important not to set yourself up to be disappointed because you only have 3 people on your Facebook Live, or no one's on your Facebook Live. And so what I would do is every time I would go live, I would just picture one of my favorite clients or the person I felt like most needed to hear my message. And because especially on Facebook, here I at least get to see all your faces, so I have a sense of you're paying attention and there are people here. But on a Facebook Live, you don't have that. You're just talking to yourself. And so when I could see that person when I could picture that person on the other side of the camera, that really helped me speak in a much more natural way. And, my marker of success was, did I touch one life today? Right? Was there one person that was affected? And as soon as I made that shift, I actually felt like it opened up to more and more people coming and more people sharing my message and interacting with me than when I had this grandiose expectation that, you know, because I'm amazing and awesome and I have so much to share, all these people should be showing up. But I hadn't actually taken the time to build my audience and practice my skills. Okay, so I would love. That's right. One day, I have no doubt Oprah will call one of us and we'll all celebrate. But until then, let's affect the people we can. All right. And so if anyone else has a suggestion of what um, of what you do to kind of get over that, like the looking, sounding piece gets in your way, I'd love for you to share in the comments, and we can just help each other, because I know that mindset piece is real, and at the same time, all of you are just so gifted and so talented, and right now more than ever, the world needs our voices and needs our gifts and needs all the tools we have. So let's work on getting over ourselves and being of true service, which means that my opinion about technology or my opinion about how I look or sound is so much less important than actually showing up today and helping all of you. Okay. So yes, Christine is saying, that's why I'm learning this now. I keep hearing just show up. Exactly. Just show up. Let's see, what else? Yep, Joanne is right. You can certainly set up a test group of one. So in Facebook, there is a way to say just broadcast it to yourself, and you can practice that way. Oh, that's cool. Darby said, I messed up when closing a video and it became my tagline. Yeah, there's always a teaching or a message you can get from this. Authenticity is best. Totally, Terry. Okay, Christine's saying, how do you use 2 cameras? Okay, so Christine's asking about how do you do one camera that's farther away and one that's close up. And so that doesn't work on Facebook Live. The way when you're seeing, that's called cutaways. So when you're seeing a video that's professionally produced and there's one camera that's, filming me talking, and then maybe another one's off to the side and they'll cut to, looking at me from a different direction, that's actually edited. And so the way you would have to do that is you would literally have 2 cameras set up and they would both be filming at the same time, and then you would have a video editor who puts those together. And so that's not something you can do on Zoom or Facebook Live at this point. And so, no, you don't usually pause the video I mean, I guess you could if you were being really kind of ghetto about it. You could film you in one position and then film you in some other position, but it would be hard to then come back to that first position. So ideally, you would have two separate cameras doing that, and I guess you could move it if you wanted to. You just have to really think through what you're saying in each position, so you don't have to move it back and forth too much. Yeah, Terry has a great suggestion. Talk about something you're comfortable with just to get started. Yes. Helen is saying, I'm being of service, and I remember my message. Yes, definitely smiling helps. I think when you smile on camera, it just lights up other people. And it does feel a little unnatural at first, but the more you do it, the more natural it does feel. So that is a great suggestion. Christine saying, I've been practicing with videos and sharing in a private Facebook group to work on my skills, but also get more comfortable with the process. Yes, find a safe space. So if you're part of any of my groups or programs, you're always welcome to broadcast, like do a broadcast or do a video and put it in the group so we can watch it. And ask a friend, say, hey, I want to do a Facebook Live. Can I broadcast this? And you be my audience, so you at least feel like one person's there. So yeah, use each other as resources. That's cool. Joanne says, I talk to myself in the mirror first, and then I have a picture of someone above my computer. Perfect. Totally. Judy saying, I need to remember no one really cares if I'm a mess and sound nasally. Okay, Judy, what I love is like your hair is awesome. Judy's hair is kind of like mine. It goes wild and curly, and it fits your brand. Like you're out on a ranch. If you were all dolled up in makeup, I would feel like that was a disjoint. So to me, it's like so refreshing to see. Absolutely. Yeah, Molly's saying, I just realized I don't have a bit of makeup on, but that's okay. Totally. I mean, some of you see Sherry, when she and I broadcast, she really likes that like makeup. She always teases me, you can't see my lips when I don't have makeup on. And for me, when I'm broadcasting more, on my own and in my own business, I don't wear makeup very often. I put a tiny bit of like mascara on and eyeliner. But other than that, I'm like, this is me. So there's no right or wrong way to do it. You just have to decide what feels right to you and what kind of matches what you're trying to promote. Okay. Yes, Debbie's saying, I guess being 65 and comfortable with myself helps. The more natural we are, it gives others permission to do the same. Absolutely. I love that. Yeah, the more we can just show up and say, this is how we are, especially as we age. I love that. Okay. Judy's saying, I tend to film the horses versus showing my face. Thoughts? So for you, Judy, I think having a combination would be amazing because people do like that personal connection. And especially having a context if you're starting out and talking for a moment and then maybe horses are in the background and then you switch over to seeing the horse. I think if as much as you can like have a balance, because to only see the horse and not see you at all, I think there's a little disconnect, because I know how deeply you connect with the horses being the teacher, but yet there's also you bring great value to that. Okay, so I hope I'm saying your name right. Padmini is saying, I arrived a little late. Did you use broadcast live at Facebook and Instagram at the same time? So I know there's a setting in Instagram that does allow you to share your content over on Facebook, but I'm not sure if that works with Facebook Live. So you would have to do a little extra research on that. Yes, if you're in my Master Heart group, you can absolutely do practicing in there. Put a little post-it or a little sign to remember to smile. Totally. Her sister-in-law Sherry's sister-in-law used all of her to watch their yoga session. So she did it in front of family before she did it live. Great idea. And the other thing that's kind of fun, again, depending on your brand, like every once in a while I'll be doing Facebook and like one of my kids will wander in, or I've had some of my team members, like their dog starts barking, and I'm like, to me, it's just part of real life. Like, I love that. Okay, good. Journalist is saying, I did my first Facebook Live last week. I'm ready to jump in. I can make these adjustments and that will help me. Awesome. Okay, and so the last thing I realized I didn't mention, which I've been modeling actually, is that I think it really helps to have calls to comment in your Facebook Lives. And so have you noticed as I've been talking, I've said to you, let's pause and see if we have any questions, or tell me how you're feeling, or yeah, you're just asking people to engage. And that really keeps their attention, and it also helps giving you feedback. But do know it takes people a lot of time to type, and it takes a lot longer than you think. So either you have to ask the question and kind of keep moving and then loop back around and see what people wrote, or you ask the question and you might want to just kind of keep speaking around the question for a minute or so to give everyone time to type. And then you also want to do a call to action. And so what that means is you might want to think through, like, what is the next step? If you're doing a Facebook live on your personal page, maybe you want to ask people to come over to your private group and join the group. Maybe you want to offer a freebie and ask them to join your list. Maybe you want to tell them about your retreat, and so you give them the link to your retreat sales page. Maybe you want them to know that, that if they want to have a clarity call or a discovery call with you, that you're offering those, and you tell them how to do that. So I would say during every Facebook Live broadcast, again, if you're just getting started and it's all you can do to deliver your content, awesome. But when you want to add in that extra little bit, then, invite people to comment and also invite them to take an action. Yeah. Okay. And then I do want to just check in about, does anyone want to hear a little bit about like more advanced ways to have people opt in and join your list in using this, or is everyone feeling a little saturated? Give me a little feedback here. Okay, so yes, please. So if you feel like you're full up, then just take a deep breath. You can let this be a seed. You don't need to keep going. And if you want to hear a couple more advanced things, I will share a few more thoughts. Okay, so obviously, if you are broadcasting a Facebook Live and you're broadcasting it on your private page, there's really no way for you to kind of follow up with that person after the Facebook Live is over, other than if you type a comment to them. And so if you want to be very direct and personal, if you wanted to, you could also go back at the end of your broadcast and you could click on each person's name who made a comment, and you could send them a little personal message just saying, I noticed you are on my Facebook Live. I'd love to hear what your takeaway was. I just want to let you know, if you'd love to come over to my private Facebook group, here's the link. Or you could say, if you ever need help solving whatever problem or issue your Facebook Live was about, here's a way to get in touch with me. And so you can be very personal in your communications. You might want to have like a little direct message typed up that you essentially can just reuse over and over again when you're contacting each person. So that's one way to do that. You also can invite people to join your email list. And to do that, you need what's called a landing page. So I'm guessing most of you have gone to a landing page before. For example, if I'm going to offer a webinar on how to be a fully shining woman, and I'm going to promote that ahead of time, then I would create a little page, and I'm going to share my screen again so you can see an example of this. Let me grab a landing page. I'm going to stop the share just for a second because I'm going into our Slack channel and we have private messages in there. So just to be respectful, here we go. So here's an example of a landing page. Okay, and some of you may know about this. So each month I do a virtual new moon manifestation ceremony, either on or around the new moon. And we get together, we set our intentions and goals for the month. We just call in support and inner guidance, and then we help each other really manifest their dreams. And it's a free series. So this is an example of a landing page where you can see there's no other navigation. You can't click to the homepage of our website. You can't find out about other programs. The only thing I want you to do is opt in for the series. So if you haven't joined and you want to, I'll go ahead and put it in the chat box. But when you register for this, now we have your email address. And so there's kind of different points of view about doing landing pages, especially right now. Some people are really feeling touchy and sensitive around capitalizing on the pandemic. And so some people are just doing everything they're doing right now for free, and they're kind of trusting that whatever they offer is going to somehow come back to them. Other people are doing it a little more strategically or commercially, where they have a landing page and you have to register, but there might be something underneath this that says like, no thanks, and I just want to join the series. And so if you have that option, it would mean that if someone opted out from that, they wouldn't receive any more emails from you. They would be able to come to whatever it is you're offering, and then that's it. And then other people, this is kind of the most traditional way to do it online, is that if you want to get whatever the free offering is, then you have to register, which means I do have your email address. And you can see when I click on this, this is how you would enter your name and your email address. And you have to actually check this off. I understand I'll be receiving monthly new moon ceremony details, plus I'll get access to tips and tools and trainings and trade secrets. And here you register. And so we could go into a whole conversation about GDPR and consent marketing, but essentially you can use a program like Lead Pages. You can have some webmasters actually have landing pages they can set up for you. For those of you who know Teresa Kibler, she's our web mistress. She actually has like a little landing page package that you can buy and set up. And then some people do it themselves on their websites or within their autoresponder. There will be a feature that allows you to do landing pages. And so if you're saying, hey, I really do want to have a way to capture someone's email address, then during your Facebook Live, you might say something like, hey, if you want to join me on my new moon virtual ceremony, then you give them the URL and they come over there, and then when they opt in, you're now able to send them more information. Or you may say, hey, I've created a great freebie. It's a video series of, like Judy and I today were talking about, how cool would it be to have a little video series around how to calm your anxiety during this outbreak. And she's going to use her horses to kind of give you analogies for tools that you could use at home. And so if you'd want her video series, you'd come over to the landing page and she'd be sharing that for free. Or you might have an ebook, right? Or maybe a meditation. So there's all sorts of different ways you would be able to use that. But a landing page is a great way to capture that for sure. And then the other piece that I think is kind of an advanced strategy as well is to really start to think through, how am I using this Facebook Live to lead people to what I might be offering next? Because obviously there's only so much you can offer or teach or share in a couple-minute Facebook Live. So you might want to think about, how does that Facebook Live relate to what's next that someone might do? And so, for example, you could do some free Facebook Lives that are saying, hey, if you want to join and get this video series, and then at the end of a video series, you could offer a strategy session, a discovery call, kind of a free sales call that lets people figure out, are they going to work with you one-on-one? Or is there a group program you might offer? Is there something else that it's leading to? And so for those of you who have hung out with me, that's what we call reverse engineering, right? Where you think through, here's the end result I want, that I want them to work with me in some way. And now what are the steps that need to be in place to have a person do that? And right now I feel like there is like this great outpouring and wellspring of generosity around offering a lot of things for free. And I also feel like there's a lot of people right now, like all of you, who are saying, okay, this is a great time for me to build my business. It's a great time to share my message. And I think there's a real balance between just letting yourself getting inspired and creative, and you say, great, I'm going to try a Facebook Live, and I have no idea what comes next or how it hooks up with any other technology. I'm just going to start with this next right step. And then also when you get to a place of comfort of figuring out, okay, I've kind of got the Facebook thing down, and now I want to add in how there might be a continuation or how I might serve people in other ways, that you also take the time to think through that. Okay. All right. So why don't we just do a little closing? And I'd love for you to share your biggest takeaway. What was your biggest aha? What was your biggest takeaway from our time together? So tell me what it is that you learned. What was that like light bulb moment? What was the, oh, I didn't realize that? And maybe it's even something that you are now going to implement. Mm-hmm. Christine saying, Spirit giving me that just show up message. Yeah, for me, it's so important to listen to those messages, because those messages are like your breadcrumbs. Like, we don't have to have the whole picture worked out. We don't have to know what's going to happen 4 months from now if we just keep tuning into Spirit every day. And like I shared that story of, I had no idea why I was filming myself on camera in the early days, but I'm so grateful I did. And it will make sense later on. So I have no doubt if we check in with you in a couple months, Christine, you're going to have a good reason for why you're supposed to be showing up now. Judy saying, I can do this. I know more than I think I know. Yes, you do. And it's so exciting to see you getting creative and sharing, especially with horses. I'm like, you're going to be my poster girl. I'm like, if Judy can do it with horses, anyone can do it. All right. Helen saying about hooking people at the beginning. Nice. Plan out your lives a little bit more. Molly, mostly this is entirely doable, and that with a little practice, I can show others how to do it. Good. Yeah, let's pass it on. Molly, if you want to share your question again, I can answer it now too. Terry saying a microphone. I just ordered it from Amazon. Great. Also do my videos on my main Facebook page. You're the best. Thank you. I need to get back into Marketing Mastery Facebook page. If you got bumped out, just pop us an email and we'll make sure you're part of the clan. Okay. Palma is saying, I'm in the flow. I'm right where I need to be to learn this at this time. Great. Dina saying, thank you so much. I love your calming and supportive energy. My pleasure. Christine is saying, I learned how to do a Facebook Live. I'm still not good at the group call on Zoom. Yeah, I love the connection because I work alone so much. That is so, so important, the connection right now. Absolutely. All right, Arlena, yes, I will repost a replay on my Facebook page for anyone who wants to watch it again, or who just feels like you want to share it with someone else. And if you do want to come and hang out with me and hear about more of these kind of things, you're also welcome to go over to megangilroy.com, and I do have a freebie on my page, and that will get you on my email list. Okay, so Molly's saying, I will be helping members of my local fiscal court do an online meeting for the first time. Any particular tips that I should be sure to mention regarding setup? So Molly, are you saying there's going to be multiple people at the meeting? And I didn't actually talk about that. If you do want to do a Facebook Live, like how many of you have been coming on the prayers for the planet that I've been doing weekdays at 5? Yeah, I see some hands raised. So have you noticed how some days it's just me and other days it's myself and one of my guests? So Facebook Live does not let you do that directly. So the way that I'm making that work is I have a app called Be Live TV. So it looks like this. I'll type that in. Be Live TV. And right now they're offering a promotion. The code is free 13. I have no connection with them. I'm just sharing. And I think it's normally like $250 a year or so. maybe $300 a year to use their, you can do free ones. You can do 3 free ones a month, but if you want more than that, right now if you use that free 13 code, you have to pay for the year subscription, but you get $150 off. So for me, since I do enough interviews, it made sense to do that. What you do is you set up your Be Live, and then you share a link with your guest, and your guest can come on Be Live, and that's how you're seeing us side by side on the screen. Okay, so Molly's saying it will be a regular meeting, usually around 30 or 40 people attend, but since that's not possible, I'm not sure exactly how many will watch. The judge and all the magistrates will likely be there. That's gonna be a little tricky with the sound. I mean, you could probably set your camera up to see as much of, the whole scene as possible, but you might want to, I don't know, you'd have to kind of think through, like, do you mostly want to hear the magistrate? Do you mostly want to hear the judge? That sounds like, honestly, it's getting to the point where you might want to find a professional videographer and have them come in, because I know I've done some live events that we've streamed on a Facebook Live, but we actually had someone with like a professional camera there, and they were kind of set up to be able to pan, and yeah, so that's a little trickier. Okay, and Christine saying, couldn't you do the interview on Zoom? Okay, so here's the deal. You could do it on Zoom, and in theory, Zoom does have the feature that allows you to broadcast to Facebook Live, but both Sherry and I have tried doing this multiple times, and what happens when you go to broadcast on Facebook Live is it just spins and spins and spins and spins, and it never actually hooks up to Facebook Live. And so I haven't had success with that. I think maybe once it just worked, and every other time we've tried, it hasn't. And so for us, we're really big on backup plans when it comes to technology. So that's why if you say, hey, I'm going to do it on Zoom and it doesn't work, you would have Be Live as a backup. Or I guess in theory, Be Live has never not worked for us, but if Be Live wasn't working for some time, then Zoom would be possible. And so if you're doing it, if you're doing something where you haven't announced it to your audience, and maybe you haven't even paid to do like Facebook advertising, it may not matter as much. But at least when Sherry and I are doing webinars and we've spent, thousands and thousands of dollars to get people registered, we always want that backup, because if we weren't able to broadcast and make our offer, that could be kind of disastrous. Yeah, Judy and Ellen, you should definitely connect. You two are amazing people, and you both love horses. Yeah, okay. All right, well, I just want to thank everyone so much for being here. If you do have someone who could use this information, please feel free to pass it on. I just want as many people as possible who have a message to share have the ability to do it. My vision is just we are like ripples, and we just, keep passing it on, keep blanketing the world. And so, as I mentioned, if you want to come on Monday, we're doing our new moon ceremony in Aries, and you're welcome. If you go to my Facebook page, the link is there. And we're also doing prayers for the planet every day at 5 p.m. Eastern time. It's just 5-10 minutes of dropping in and taking that deep breath and sharing our love and light with the planet. So those are some extra ways you can connect. And I just want everyone to keep sharing your light. I know that this is a really extraordinary time, and deep inside of me, I feel like beyond all of the suffering and the tragedy piece, that something really amazing and beautiful is being born, and we're all being given this invitation to slow down and connect and follow our real calling. And I can't tell you how many people I've seen, it's like nudged them to go online, or it's nudged them to share a poem that they normally wouldn't share, or nudged them to think of something in a creative new way. And so I'm watching, it from the point of view of having this beautiful feminine consciousness being woven into the masculine. And I know it's going to be a little bit of a bumpy ride. Even for me personally, I have my days when I feel like I can be more focused, and other days when I feel like my energy is being used in some totally different way. So just blessings to everyone. please check in with me. I'm here for you, and I really appreciate this community and tribe. Take care, everyone. Bye.